Hey, it's Jack, the one and only, sharing the moment I lived through and the story I've learned from others. So far, the first two episodes were a bit heavy. A lot of internal stuff, a lot of reflection. Today, I want to change the energy a little. This episode is not deep in a quiet way. It's messy, it's chaotic, it's awkward, and honestly, still a bit funny to think about it now. But at the time, it didn't feel funny at all. This is one of those stories that stay with you not because it was successful, but because it exposed you. This is a deployment story I will never forget. It started like another deployment day. Nothing special, nothing dramatic, no back sign. I remember thinking, okay, this one should be smooth. The code was tested, the checklist was there, everyone knew their role. We had done this before. I even remember feeling slightly confident. This kind of confidence that isn't loud but comfortable. The kind where you tell yourself, yeah, this should be fine. These sentences alone should have been a warning. The first issue was tiny, so small that nobody panicked. Something didn't load properly, a minor error, nothing critical. Someone said, it's okay, just refresh. Someone else said, probably cash. I knocked around. Inside my head, I thought, okay, minor issue, normal, we move on. But that's the thing about chaos. It rarely announces itself loudly at the start. It whispers. The next issue came 5 minutes later, then another, then something that should work. But then the room changed, not suddenly, subtle. People spoke faster, message come in quicker. Silence between sentences become shorter. I remember staring at the screen thinking, why is this happening now? My body was calm, but my thought weren't. I started replaying earlier step in my head. Did we miss something? Did I miss something? I didn't say it out loud, but a quiet fear started creeping in. Then came the moment, the one where you realize this is no longer a small issue. Something broke, not partially, completely. The kind of break where you stop talking for a second because your brain needs time to catch up. I remember feeling my chest tighten, not dramatic panic, just pressure. A teammate asked, what is going on? I didn't know how to answer that question yet, and that scared me. Everyone started doing something, typing, checking logs, refreshing dashboard, asking questions. From the outside, it looked productive. From the inside, it feels scattered. I could feel my own thoughts spinning up. My mind jumped between possibilities. Is this configurations? Is this environment? Is this something we didn't test? Is this rollback time? At the same time, I feel another pressure, not technical, human. People were waiting, people were watching, people were trusting us, and I felt that way. In the middle of all this, a strange thought came into my head. Not panic, no logic, just this. If this fails, it is on us. That sentences didn't feel scary because of blame. It feels scary because of responsibility. I realized something in that moment. I wasn't afraid of the system failing. I was afraid of letting people down. At the same point, I spoke up, not confidently, not loudly, just clearly. I suggested a step, not the guarantee fix, just a direction. The room paused. Someone said, okay, let's try. I remember thinking, I hope this works, not because I wanted to be right, but because I didn't want things to get worse. That was the moment I realized how exposed you feel when people follow your suggestion. It's a quiet kind of fear. Waiting during a deployment is one of the worst feelings. You have done what you can. Now the system decides. I stare at the screen. No one talks. Seconds feel longer than they were. My mind went blank and loud at the same time. I did not think about solution anymore. I thought about the consequences. Eventually, things came back. Slowly, carefully, not perfect, but stable. Someone said, okay, looks fine now. Another said, let's monitor. I exhaled without realizing I was holding my breath. But instead of relief, I feel something else, something heavier. People relax, jokes come back, message slow. From the outside, it looks like the wind, but inside me, something fell off. I wasn't proud, I wasn't happy, I was quiet. Because during the chaos, I saw part of myself very clearly. How I reacted under pressure, how fast my mind jumped to worst case scenarios, how much responsibility I carry silently, how afraid I was of disappointing others. That night didn't teach me about deployments. It taught me about me. There's a part of this story I don't usually tell. A moment where I almost spoke, but didn't. A moment where I could have asked for help earlier, but hesitated. Not because I was arrogant, but because I didn't want to look unsure. That hesitation cost us time. Nothing catastrophic, but enough for me to remember. And that memory stay. I have had a worse deployment since then. Bigger issues, more complex problem. But this one stayed. Because it was the first time I realized chaos doesn't just reveal system weaknesses. It reveals personal patterns. How you handle stress, how you speak, how you hesitate, how you carry responsibility. That night quietly shaped how I show up now. Looking back now, I see how this story connects to earlier episodes. The mindset crack, the leadership moments, the fear of responsibility. This deployment wasn't just chaos, it was a mirror. There's another side to this story. What happened after? What I reflected on later? What I changed quietly? That come later in the series. Not next episode, but soon. Because this wasn't the end of chaos. It was just beginning of awareness. After slowly stabilize the core and people log off, message stop, and suddenly it was quiet. The kind of quiet where your body's still buzzing, but the world have moved on. I sat there for a while, didn't close anything, didn't stand up, just stare at the screen, not thinking about bug anymore, not replying logs, just sitting with the feeling. It took me a while to realize this, but the chaos didn't leave when the system recovered. It stayed in my body. My shoulders were tense, my jaw felt tight, my breathing was shallow. I remember thinking, why do I still feel something wrong? Nothing was broken anymore, but something inside me had not settled. Later that night, lying in bed, my mind replayed everything, not in order, not logically, just flash. The moment something failed, the pause before I spoke, the second I hesitated, the silence while waiting, the relief mixed with unease. I wasn't replaying it to fix anything. I was replaying it because my mind had not finished processing it yet. One question keeps surfacing, not technical, not professional, just this. Why did I hesitate? I knew the answer. Even if I did not like it, I was afraid of being wrong, afraid of saying the wrong thing, afraid of exposing uncertainty. That fear didn't come from incompetence. It came from wanting to appear composed. And that realization stung. This wasn't the first time. I started noticing a pattern. Moment where I knew something I needed to be said, but waited. Moment where I chose silence, hoping clarity would appear on its own. Moment where I carried responsibility internally instead of sharing it outwardly. This deployment just made the pattern impossible to ignore. Nothing catastrophic happened that night, no disaster story, but I saw something important. Hesitation has a cost, not always visible, not always dramatic. Sometimes it just added pressure, extra minutes, unnecessary stress. And sometimes it is the quiet weight you carry afterwards. A few days later, someone joked about that night. Wow, that one stressful. Ah. I laughed because, yeah, it was, but inside I knew that night wasn't funny to me for a different reason. It marked something, not a failure, not a success, a reference point. Chaos never sit you down and explain the lesson. It just happens. And later, if you are willing to look, you realize something shifted. That deployment didn't teach me how to deploy better. It showed me how I respond when things feel out of control. And that matters more. Looking back now, I see how this episode fits into everything else. The mindset cracks, the leadership moments, the responsibility I felt but didn't name. This was another layer, another mirror, another reminder that who we are under pressure often say more than who we are when things are calm. I didn't wake up the next day transformed. I didn't suddenly become fearless. I didn't stop hesitating completely. Change wasn't dramatic. It was subtle. A slightly earlier question next time, a slightly quicker voice, a slightly softened grip on needing to look composed. Tiny shift, but real. I still remember that deployment clearly, not because it was bad, but because it was honest. It showed me myself without filters, and those moments, they stay with you. Chaos eventually fade. New projects come, new issue appear, but the way you see yourself after a moment like that doesn't fully go back. It quietly shapes how you move forward. This wasn't a story about mistake or victories. It was just one night that refused to be forgotten. Next episode, I want to slow things down again to talk about something I carry quietly for a long time. Something that worked until it didn't. Something I didn't realize had a cost until I finally stopped and looked. I will see you in episode 4. Bye.